Hello and welcome to the Core 2021 pre-release. I'm Serge.
And I'm Nelson. We're going to introduce you to the rules and mechanics in Core 2021.
Now, Core 2021 doesn't include any new mechanics.
And only one returning mechanic.
So we thought we'd cover some of the more complicated interactions from the set.
One of the major themes in Core 2021 is, cats and dogs? Alright then. Going back through previous sets, all hounds are now dogs. These cards keep their other subtypes. Similarly, any cards that become hounds or create hound tokens have received errata to replace that one word with dog. Isamaru is now officially a good boy.
Isamaru was always a good boy. For a long time now, Magic players have been taking cards from their library and putting them into their graveyard. Well now, for real, truly, and officially, the rules call it the same thing players do: mill. Some things you may not know about mill. If a player is instructed to mill more cards than they have in their library, they put all of the cards in their library into their graveyard. Once a player's library is empty, that player doesn't lose the game until they try and draw a card and can't.
If you've been playing Magic in the past couple sets, you're probably already familiar with the spellcaster's best friend, Prowess. It's an ability that makes your creatures stronger every time you cast a spell. Prowess means, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Any spell you cast that doesn't have the type creature will cause Prowess to trigger. Playing a land won't cause Prowess to trigger. An ability that triggers when a player casts a spell resolves before the spell that caused it to trigger. Prowess resolves even if the spell is countered.
At your pre-release, you may come across Teferi, Master of Time. His -3 ability causes a permanent to phase out. Here's a short introduction on how phasing works. If a permanent phases out, its status changes to phased out. Except for rules and effects that specifically mention phased out permanents, a phased out permanent is treated as though it does not exist. It can't affect or be affected by anything else in the game. A permanent that phases out is removed from combat. When do phased out permanents come back? Phasing is a static ability that modifies the rules of the untap step. During each player's untap step, before the active player untaps permanents, all phased out permanents that had phased out under that player's control phase back in. Here are some important things to note about phasing. The phasing event doesn't actually cause a permanent to change zones or control, even though it's treated as though it's not on the battlefield and not under its controller's control while it's phased out. Zone change triggers don't trigger when a permanent phases in or out. To be clear, nothing is leaving or entering the battlefield, so nothing checking for these events will trigger. Tokens continue to exist while phased out. Counters remain on a permanent while it's phased out. If auras or equipment are attached to a permanent that phases out, they will phase out at the same time. These auras and equipment won't phase back in by themselves. They phase back in along with the permanent they're attached to. This means abilities that trigger when a permanent becomes attached or unattached from an object or player won't trigger when that permanent phases in or out.
There are quite a few cases where a creature will enter play tapped and attacking. This can cause some confusion, as these interactions aren't always as straightforward as you'd imagine. Let's cover the rules on how this works. If a creature is put onto the battlefield attacking, its controller chooses which defending player or which planeswalker a defending player controls it will attack as it enters the battlefield, unless the effect that put it onto the battlefield specifies what it's attacking. These creatures are attacking, but they never attacked. This means any creatures that enter play tapped and attacking won't cause, whenever a creature attacks, triggered abilities to trigger. When you go to declare attackers, imagine the game pauses. At this point, you'll decide how many creatures you want to attack with. Once you finalize your decision, the game will lock in this number. Now, even if more creatures are added, we've already passed the point where the game counts how many attackers were declared. Static abilities given to attacking creatures still apply.
Hey Nelson, can I attack a planeswalker with the new creature?
Yes, the creature entering the battlefield attacking can attack a planeswalker.
What if we're in a multiplayer game? Can I attack something else?
Yes, you absolutely can and should choose a different defending player or planeswalker controlled by a defending player. That's it for the Core 2021 rules, as well as our quick recap on how to handle creatures that only know war. Good luck to all the players.
Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoy your pre-release.
Thanks.